Welcome back, everybody. Far Cry 3 was one of my favorite games in 2012, and I have the great privilege of being joined here by Mark Thompson from Ubisoft Montreal. They're working on Far Cry 4, coming to PlayStation 4. Thanks for joining us, Mark.
No problem. Happy to be here.
So, like I said, Far Cry 3 was one of my personal favorites. Honestly, the last console generation, fantastic game. I'm really pumped for Far Cry 4. It looks amazing so far. Can you tell us a little bit about how you guys are just going to be one-upping Far Cry 3, making it even crazier, more insane, more explosion-y than Far Cry 3?
So yeah, for Far Cry 4, we built an entirely new world. We moved from the tropical islands of Far Cry 3 up into the snowy mountain peaks of the Himalayas. So we created a new country. It's a fictional place called Kirат. It's based on a lot of reference from Nepal and from Bhutan. And we really throw you into the world of Pagan Min, who is the guy in the pink suit that we revealed at the Ubisoft press conference earlier.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about this new villain. I mean, you guys, in Far Cry 3, we took on Vaz, who was one of the most memorable villains in gaming history. There were some really weird, crazy scenes involving him. How are you guys going to kind of match that? What are you guys doing with this new villain to make him really stand out and reach that bar, maybe surpass that bar that Vaz set?
I mean, it was a tough challenge to try and come up with someone who would, like, meet the expectations everyone has after Vaz.
Yeah.
And to be honest, when we were developing Pagan Min as a character, there were a few times when we asked ourselves, like, why are we fighting this fight? Why don't we just bring Vaz back? Like, everyone likes Vaz. He worked. He was fun. But we didn't want to do the same game again.
Yeah.
You know, in Vaz's words, doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of insanity.
Exactly, the definition of insanity.
So, yeah, I mean, we didn't want to do a 3.5. This is Far Cry 4. It's a new game, new experience. So we needed a new antagonist. But yeah, I mean, the challenge, we were our own worst enemy because Vaz was, resonated so well with people. So we had to come back with someone slightly different, but it still has that feeling of insanity and danger. But Pagan was super fun to create, to write for, and to develop as a character. He's charming, he's charismatic. I'd say he's a little more nuanced than Vaz was, but he's still as unpredictable and violent in the moment.
Cool. So you are the narrative director on this game. Talk to us from a storytelling standpoint. What are you guys shifting gears from Far Cry 3 to? What's your process look like now compared to this stage in development of Far Cry 3? What's different with Far Cry 4 from a storytelling point of view?
So I think when we were developing Far Cry 3, we really didn't know as a team just how powerful the open world was. Like, we focused a lot on the story and the missions, and the open world just kind of, a lot of systems came together at the end of development, and we realized that we had this fantastic playground that people just loved to go and explore, and people would take away their own stories. We call them anecdotes. You could play the game for 15 minutes, and you would leave with a different story about, you set fire to a tiger who ran into an outpost, who would, cause a barrel to explode, and then the pirates will all run away. So when we started developing Far Cry 4, we understood the kind of the power of that open world and giving players the ability to take away their own stories from their experience. So we developed the open world and the story to be kind of the same experience, so that when you play a mission, you don't feel like you've lost the freedom of the open world, and that when you play in the open world, you don't feel like you've turned off the story or you're losing out on narrative. So you still feel characterization, and you still feel like you're in the same adventure and in the same experience.
Cool. Awesome moment from the gameplay that we saw at our press conference. The character, the player character, strapping an explosive to a barrel, kicking it down, and then detonating it, blowing a bunch of dudes up. What other cool tricks can we expect? I mean, that's a pretty cool, involved kind of gameplay mechanic. How are you guys putting that stuff together? How deep does that rabbit hole of being able to mix and match different strategies, how deep does that go?
Well, I mean, it's one of those, like, the feature was never designed for that. It's just like one of those accidents of development. It's like, it's why I love working on games like Far Cry, because we have a bunch of systems and we have an open world, and the systems all kind of mesh and speak with each other. So you end up with all of these like strange, surprising, emergent gameplay situations that, as a developer, you never sit down and plan the moment when somebody can put a C4 on a barrel and then kick that barrel towards an enemy. We developed the kick so we would have a different contextual melee attack instead of just the knife. But then someone thought, oh, if I kick a barrel, I can shoot it and kill an enemy. And then somebody thought, oh, well, if I put an explosive on a barrel and then kick that, it's like a double explosive. So it's just one of those kind of happy accidents of development. So we've been sneaking in lots of small features like that. They can all be combined. I think that's the beauty of the open world gameplay of Far Cry, is that all of these systems can be used and speak to each other, and kind of, we still get surprised when we see people play. People are playing now at the Ubisoft booth, and we say things that we didn't ever expect to have happen.
Cool. So it seems like every time I see a clip of Far Cry, be it Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4, I mean, especially Far Cry 4, based on what we've seen so far, there's always something ridiculous happening on the screen. How does that translate to the real game? Is it always going to be just like crazy stuff happening no matter where you look? How are you kind of juggling the ebb and flow of, I guess, energy or intensity of things happening around you to keep players interested?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you have to accept as a developer of an open world is that the pacing and kind of the crafting of the moment to moment is really in the hands of the players. You have to kind of give them the ownership of the kind of the pacing of their experience, because we don't know if a player is going to move from mission 1 to mission 2 within 5 minutes, because they could do mission 1 and then go and play 13 outposts, and they could come back to mission 2 3 weeks later, and they've experienced pretty much half of the game before they even do the next mission. So as developers, we have to embrace it. We have to embrace the fact that the pacing of the experience is up to players. So if you're more action-oriented and you just want to bounce from outpost to outpost to outpost and get that XP and get all of the skills, then that's really up to you. It's not up to us as developers to say, no, you can't do that. We just let people do that. But the world is full of opportunities to explore and discover. We have these great mountain peaks that just ask you, they beg the player to go and explore them. And we have new tools like the grappling hook that lets you climb. We have the gyrocopter that lets you fly to get to those high points. And we have hidden temples and monasteries and these hidden locations with treasure. So if you want to take a break from combat and that kind of gameplay, you can go and explore the open world and find some of those secrets.
Nice. So speaking a little bit more about the open world in Far Cry 4, Far Cry 3 had a very, I think, a successful approach to an open world game and an open world environment. Are you guys kind of rethinking the open world formula at all? Are you retooling certain aspects of it? Or are you looking to Far Cry 3 as kind of a base for that and then building on it?
Yeah, I mean, Far Cry 3 there was a lot of development and a lot of research into the kind of the pacing and structure and density of the environment, just to see how much content do we need to put inside an open world, how long does it need to be before the player sees a new piece of content. So I think we know that the formula from Far Cry 3 was pretty successful, so we don't want to reinvent what we don't need to. So it's really just been about using the new location, the Himalayas, the mountains, to leverage new opportunities and to find ways to add new content to the open world without kind of compromising the experience that was in Far Cry 3's open world. So we added different quest types. We're trying to find ways to push more dynamic content, so you don't always have to go to a point and activate a quest for it to happen. Sometimes you'll be moving through the world and you'll see an enemy convoy, and it's like a dynamic possibility of gameplay. You can choose whether you want to go capture the convoy and deliver it or destroy it, or you can head to the mission that you were traveling to anyway.
Nice. So it looks like we've actually got some gameplay on our screen here, and boy, does this game look pretty. Look at that graffiti up on the wall there. That looks really cool. So how are you guys taking advantage of PlayStation 4's new next-gen hardware to make Far Cry 4 look, better than ever?
Yeah, I mean, what the next-gen consoles are allowing us to do in the PS4 is really, I mean, Far Cry 4 is going to be the most beautiful-looking Far Cry game ever on console. This is like what we're looking at right now, and what we've shown, what's playable at the Ubisoft booth and here at Sony is all running on PlayStation 4. Like, this is the game. This is what the game looked like. This is real code on the hardware.
Nice. So speaking of PlayStation, you guys announced there's this PlayStation exclusive feature that anyone who gets the game on PS3 or PS4 can take advantage of, the keys to Kirат. What is that? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so at the end of Far Cry 3, we almost immediately realized that we made a huge mistake in that we didn't have open world co-op. So that was one of the first things we wanted to try and resolve with Far Cry 4 was, this open world is fun. It's going to be more fun if we can invite a friend. And so now we have for the first time in Far Cry, we have the ability to invite a friend into your open world, and you can go and tackle towers or go and try and take down outposts and work as a team together. And then on PSN, if you play on PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4, if you own a copy of Far Cry 4, you can send one of the keys to Kirат to one of your friends, and they can join you in your open world
even if they don't have
buying
the
the
game.
game.
That's amazing. That's really cool. That's got to be a first of some sort. That's amazing news. So yeah, I think we're just about out of time here. But is there any closing thoughts? Anything you wanted to make sure we say to all our fans out here before we let you go?
No, I look forward to everyone getting lost in the world of Kirат and the Himalayas and showing us what the systems can do.
Nice. When can we play Far Cry 4?
Far Cry 4 is going to be
PlayStation